Las Vegas, Nevada. MGM Grand Garden Arena, September 14, 1987. Saturday night, 10 p.m. The air inside the arena is thick with barely disguised mockery. 16,000 people packed the MGM Grand to witness what the media was calling the most lopsided matchup of the decade. Mike Tyson, 21 years old, 5'10", tall, is about to face Marcus "the Tower" Sullivan, a 6'7" heavyweight who had spent the previous 3 months turning this fight into a public joke about height. At the press conference the week before, Sullivan did something no opponent had ever done. He brought a child's height chart, the colorful kind you see in pediatricians' offices, with cartoon giraffes and elephants marking each inch. He laid it flat on the floor right in the center of the room, where every camera could catch it, and beckoned Tyson forward with a theatrical wave. "Let's see if you even reach heavyweight territory," he said, his voice dripping with performative contempt as camera flashes erupted everywhere like fireworks. The entire room exploded in laughter, not nervous or awkward chuckles, genuine belly laughs, as if Sullivan had just delivered the joke of the year. Veteran reporters who had covered boxing for 30 years were doubled over. Photographers paused to wipe tears from their eyes. The moment was captured from every possible angle, destined to become front-page material in every sports section in the country. Tyson remained completely silent throughout the spectacle, his jaw clenched like a steel trap, his eyes utterly dead of emotion, staring straight through Sullivan as if he were made of glass. Sullivan kept going. "Look at him. 5'10". My 15-year-old son is taller than that. How did this guy even get into heavyweight boxing? Did anyone check his birth certificate? Maybe he should be fighting middleweight." More laughter. The reporters ate it up. The next day's headlines were merciless. Sullivan questions whether Tyson is tall enough for heavyweight. The Tower promises to keep Brooklyn Kid in school. Marcus Sullivan wasn't just confident, he was certain he had cracked the code. In the previous 100 years of heavyweight boxing, height had always mattered. Champions were giants: Jess Willard, 6'6", Primo Carnera, 6'7". The men who ruled the division were the ones who could look down on everyone else. And now Sullivan, with his 6'7" frame and 84-inch reach, was about to expose Mike Tyson as the fraud he had always been, a short kid who got lucky against mediocre opposition. In Sullivan's dressing room, the atmosphere is premature celebration. His trainers are overconfident, already mentally spending the winner's purse. "You just have to keep him off you," the head trainer says. "Use your jab. Use your reach. He'll be chasing you all night like a little dog. And when he gets tired, when he drops his guard out of frustration, we catch him with the right hand. Knockout. Glory." Sullivan is stretching his 6'7" frame, doing showy push-ups, grinning for the permitted cameras. "You're gonna see what happens when real size meets a kid pretending to be heavyweight," he declares. Height wins. Reach wins. It always has. It's basic physics, science, pure mathematics. Tyson may have beaten some guys, but he's never faced someone my size who knows how to use it. The cameras love it. That kind of arrogance sells pay-per-view. Mike Tyson's dressing room is the polar opposite. Absolute silence. No music, no unnecessary talk. Just the sound of tape being wrapped, gloves being laced, and the controlled breathing of a man who had turned 3 months of ridicule into something far more dangerous than anger. Pure fuel. His trainer Kevin Rooney watches Mike closely. He has seen this look before. It's the look Mike gets when someone suggests he can't do something. It's the look that precedes total destruction. "How you feeling?" Rooney asks, already knowing the answer. "Empty," Mike replies. His voice is flat, stripped of emotion. "I don't feel anything. I just want the bell to ring." Rooney understands. This emptiness isn't apathy. It's the mental state Customato spent years cultivating. It's the place where Mike Tyson becomes something more than human, where pain doesn't register, where fear doesn't exist, where there is only the target and the complete annihilation of the target. The walk to the ring is a procession of contrasts. Sullivan enters first, his 6'7" height on full display. His walkout music blasts through the speakers. He waves to the crowd with both arms raised, smiling wide, utterly assured. When he steps into the ring, leaping over the ropes, he looks like a giant. He owns the space. When he spreads his arms, his 84-inch reach seems infinite. The crowd roars approval. This is what a heavyweight is supposed to look like. Then, Mike Tyson enters. No bombastic music. No unnecessary pageantry. No theatrics that other fighters love. Just walking with singular purpose, each step planted with deliberate intent, eyes locked on the ring as if nothing else in the universe exists. And the difference when he appears is absolutely jarring, almost comical in its disparity. He looks small by comparison. Not just a little smaller, genuinely compact, condensed, as though someone took every characteristic of a heavyweight and compressed it into a much smaller frame. When he finally climbs into the ring and stands beside Sullivan for the mandatory stare-down photo, the visual mismatch is so extreme it looks like bad Photoshop. Sullivan has 23 centimeters, 9 inches of height on him. His 84-inch reach compared to Tyson's 71 inches feels like two completely different weight classes. When Sullivan looks down at Tyson during the traditional face-off, he has to literally drop his chin at an awkward angle, almost staring at the floor. It's the kind of physical disparity that makes people in the crowd whisper uncomfortably, wondering if this fight should even be happening. "Look up when you talk to me, kid," Sullivan says, loud enough for the ring mic to catch it. The crowd laughs, some uncomfortably, but they laugh. Tyson doesn't respond. He simply stares at Sullivan's chest, breathing steady, eyes empty of everything except purpose. The referee calls them to center for final instructions. "I want a clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. Obey my commands. Touch gloves and return to your corners." Sullivan slaps his glove against Tyson's hard, trying to intimidate. Tyson doesn't react. He just walks back to his corner. The commentators run the numbers one last time. Look at the disparity, folks. Sullivan has 9 inches of height advantage, 13 inches of reach advantage, and 20 pounds more weight. Tyson is going to have to find a way inside, and against a man with that reach, that won't be easy. Sullivan just has to do the basics. Jab, jab, jab. Keep the kid on the outside. The bell rings, and in the next 20 seconds, everything boxing teaches about physical advantage becomes irrelevant. Mike Tyson doesn't walk to the center of the ring. He detonates. There is no other word. He closes the distance in an explosion of movement that leaves Sullivan blinking in confusion. The plan was to establish the jab, control distance, use reach. But Tyson is already inside, already under the guard, already in a place where reach doesn't matter. Tyson's first left hook lands on Sullivan's ribs with a sound that makes the front row flinch. It's the sound of bone meeting bone through muscle and flesh. Sullivan folds involuntarily, his mouth opening in a silent "oh" of pure pain. Before he can process the damage, the right hook comes from the other side. Same speed, same devastating force, same rib. Sullivan tries to create space. He tries to extend his arm, push Tyson away, use his size advantage. But Tyson doesn't budge. He's planted, center of gravity impossible to displace, like trying to push a fire hydrant. And then Tyson moves again, not backward as Sullivan expects, but sideways, an angle Sullivan never saw coming. The uppercut comes from below, so low it seems to rise from the canvas itself. It travels maybe 16 inches, but carries the full rotational force of steel hips and shoulders like boulders. It connects perfectly under Sullivan's chin. The giant's head snaps back violently. His eyes roll, his legs lock for a microsecond. The crowd is in stunned silence. This wasn't supposed to happen. Sullivan was supposed to be controlling distance, dominating with his jab, making Tyson chase shadows. But in 20 seconds, Sullivan is hurt, bleeding from the nose, and looking completely lost. Sullivan tries to respond. He throws a desperate jab. It's technically correct, fast, on target. But Tyson is no longer where he was. He slips it with a movement so tiny, so economical, that Sullivan's jab passes inches from his head. And into the vacuum created by that mistake, Tyson unleashes a 3-punch combination that will be studied in boxing gyms for decades. Left hook to the liver. Sullivan's organ literally stops functioning for a second. Right hook to the same spot. Double damage, double agony. And then, as Sullivan folds involuntarily, opening his guard, Tyson's left hook comes looping sideways, a perfect arc that ends at Sullivan's right temple. Sullivan falls. Not like a man knocked out. Like a control tower being demolished. His 6'7" frame collapses in sections. First the knees give, then the waist buckles, then the torso topples. He hits the canvas with an impact that shakes the entire ring. His eyes are open but seeing nothing. His brain is trying to reboot basic systems. The referee doesn't even need to count. He simply waves his arms, calling for the doctors. The fight is over. First round, 47 seconds. The man who spent 3 months ridiculing Mike Tyson for being short is unconscious on the canvas, being examined by paramedics while 16,000 people process the impossible. Mike Tyson doesn't celebrate. He simply walks to his corner and sits. No emotion, no triumph, just the job completed. Kevin Rooney drapes a towel over his shoulders. "You proved your point," he says quietly. Tyson doesn't answer. There is no point to prove. There is only reality, and the reality is that height doesn't fight. Sullivan finally regains consciousness after 2 minutes. He's confused, disoriented, trying to understand where he is. When he finally realizes he's on the canvas, that he lost, that he was knocked out in under a minute by the man he spent months calling too short, something breaks in his eyes. It isn't just defeat, it's the realization that everything he believed to be true was wrong. The reporters who were laughing 3 hours earlier now scramble to get into the ring. Questions explode from every direction. "Mike, what do you have to say to the people who said you were too short?" Mike takes the microphone. His voice is calm, without malice, without gloating. Just fact. Height doesn't step into the ring with me. Reach doesn't step into the ring with me. A man steps in, and if that man is worried about measurements, about inches, about numbers, he's already lost. Because while he's measuring, I'm destroying. Sullivan spent 3 months talking about my height. I spent 3 months studying how to collapse his ribs. There is no applause, just heavy silence. Because everyone in the arena has just learned something fundamental. In boxing, physical specifications are advantages, but advantages can be nullified by technique, by speed, by pure will, and by an understanding of the geometry of violence. Mike Tyson, at 5'10", has just proven that heavyweight isn't defined by height. It's defined by who can impose his will on the other man. In the dressing rooms after the fight, Sullivan is being treated by doctors. Broken ribs, mild concussion, pride completely shattered. When a reporter gets a brief word with him, Sullivan says something that sums up the entire night. "I spent 3 months laughing at him. He spent 47 seconds teaching me that height means nothing when you can't see the punches coming. I'm 9 inches taller, and he was hitting me from angles I didn't even know existed. It wasn't a fight. It was a lesson in why you never underestimate someone based on numbers." The lesson from that night echoed throughout the boxing world. Mike Tyson, the little guy from Brooklyn, proved that in the ring, physics is only half the equation. The other half is controlled fury, technique refined through 1,000 hours of training, and the ability to turn every perceived inch of disadvantage into a weapon. They laughed at him for being short. The bell rang, and the laughter turned into absolute panic in less than a minute.